Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show from the CPRS Conference, hosted by Craig LeBlanc, and today we're joined by youth sports leader Ben Freeland. With nearly a decade of experience through the National Academy of Athletics, Ben is helping bring the fun, passion, and purpose back to youth sports, focusing on community, confidence, and connection over competition. From building local partnerships to creating meaningful experiences for kids, this is a conversation you won't want to miss. Let's dive in.
All right, we are live. This is our first episode from California, CPRS 2026, the great state of California. And shout out to Stephanie Stevens, the executive director here. But our first guest is with the National Academy of Athletics. He works with Aaron Locks. He's our host, longtime host of the Youth Sports Mastery Show. So obviously, Ben has a lot of knowledge around youth sports. So Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah. So why don't you give people a little bit about your background? How did you get into youth sports?
Yeah, so sports was always a big part of my life. I ended up playing Division I basketball, made an appearance in the 2016 March Madness tournament. After college, I spent 3 years playing abroad in both Germany.
What college did you play for?
I played for Lafayette College, part of the Patriot League out in Pennsylvania.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so extending that career a little bit was quite the experience, getting to travel to Germany, Spain, and then visiting all the European countries while over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met Aaron Locks after my third year over there and just kind of been full steam ahead with youth sports since.
Yeah. And so do you have one of the territories for youth sports, for the National Academy of Athletics?
Yeah, so I run two different territories for them. I run Marin County and Petaluma. And then Yolo Solano from Fairfield all the way out to the Dixon Woodland area.
How many years have you been doing that?
I'm entering my 9th year.
Yeah. And so give us what does the day-to-day look like for you as far as running like a week of youth sports camps, or do you do basketball camps, obviously, but is there anything else that you do for the cities you work with?
Yeah, so we do everything from physical education classes with elementary schools to after-school programs, weekend clinics, coaches clinics, and then obviously our school break camps such as spring break and summer. A lot of it is just relationship building, right? Building the relationships with the schools, building the relationships with the community members, families, and children, and just trying to bring the fun back to sports.
And so how do you do that? How do you kind of bring the fun back to sports? Because I know a lot of times, or at least there's this, I don't know how it started or where it started, but we have this such a competitive win at all costs, constant camps year round, and just to burn out the kids. And so how is y'all's different from that?
I think the biggest piece is kind of that structured chaos, right? We want the kids to just experience and face a little less correction and kind of learn through the experience. When you're kind of harping on the kids' performance all the time and focusing primarily on the performance and the result, that's kind of where the kids lose the passion, right? So the whole piece is bringing that passion and love for the game back, and then they're going to want to play more.
And what age groups do you work with primarily?
We work with kids down to 3.5 now, just because of transitional kindergarten, all the way up to 13, 14-year-olds entering high school.
What's your favorite age group to work with?
I like the elementary school. Probably that 3rd to 5th grade is the best because they can comprehend what you're trying to get them to do, and then they actually compete a little bit. The younger grades, it's more a little bit of the hurting.
Yeah. And so what's your favorite part about it, as far as when your day-to-day work is something that just is very rewarding for you? What do you find most rewarding about the work you're doing?
I just seeing the growth both in our partners and what we've been able to accomplish, especially dating back to 2020. Seeing the kids develop that passion and want to participate and see the excitement when they come to our programs and when they set foot on the field with our coaches. We just bring that sense of energy, and the kids feed off of it. And it's just rewarding to see them grow through the day-to-day. I think the social and emotional components of sports is so important in this day and age, and always has been. And it's more than just the physical components of sport that add to life and the growth of our future generations.
Yeah. And so how do you strike that balance between, you do want the kids to have fun. If they're not having fun, they're not signing up next year. And I guess their learning curve just drops when they're just miserable. So how do you strike that balance between, you do want them to kind of learn the skill of whatever sport you're teaching them, but you also want them to have fun? How do you kind of do both at the same time?
I think everything's about gamification, right? If it appears more as like a game rather than a drill, they're going to be more inclined to do it. So, like a simple thing in soccer is, passing the ball through the window, right? You want to challenge them. You can have the cones be your window, and the cones can either be really close or they can be further apart to build that level of confidence, right? Start big, make it easy, and then as they get better, you make it harder. So there's that sense of individual competition rather than always putting them up against each other. And that it's the confidence that we're trying to build, right? It doesn't always have to be all hands-on, push the product in terms of building that level of skill, but just the gamification piece.
And it seems like in youth sports, we're always focused on the one that has the most athletic ability. But when you're working at the community level, maybe at a Parks and Rec, how do you work with the kids that just really aren't that athletic and try to encourage them to participate in whatever you're doing among these more athletically gifted kids? How do you kind of bring them along that journey?
I think that's the beauty of recreation sports is you're going to have kids at different walks, different spots of skill level. And that kind of comes back to that whole social and emotional component and leadership roles is utilizing those kids that have more skills and having them help lead rather than just always being the coaches.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things I'm always preaching at the programs that I'm running directly myself is the best players make those around them better. It's not a matter of just being the individual.
Yeah. It reminds me of this little, I guess it was an Instagram reel where they have this little girl. I don't know. She's got to be like maybe 3rd or 4th grade. And she shoots the basketball and it's just horrible. I mean, you could tell it was just a terrible shot. But then she goes back to the line and she's doing like these cartwheels and somersaults. And you could tell she's gifted in that arena, but in basketball, she's just not gifted. How do you kind of help kids find their strengths and know that, look, just because you're not the best basketball player and may never be the best basketball player on our little team, you still have a place to grow and you can still learn things in our basketball camp?
I think the biggest thing is just realizing that our bodies are meant to do more, right? That's the beauty of cross training. You look at basketball and football or even soccer, and one thing that works across all three of those sports is footwork. So focusing on cross training and relating whatever the new sport is for that kid to something they may already be comfortable and familiar with to bridge that gap to make it become more successful for them.
And how important is it to cross train as far as, let's say you've got a really good swimmer, how is it important for them to maybe play basketball or play flag football or play, soccer in addition to, something that they might really be good at naturally?
I think the biggest piece is not necessarily having to be the best at every sport you're playing, but just taking that break from what your preferred sport is. I mean, if you look at the professional level, kids or the professionals are getting injured at a much higher rate and missing more games. I mean, you look at the stars in the NBA, and they're having to sit out more games now than ever before just for rest periods. A lot of that stems from them growing up and playing their sport, basketball or whatever it was, all year long. You look at baseball players, especially pitchers, they're told they need to pitch all year long to become the best they can be. Well, Tommy John surgery is at the highest rate it's ever been. So taking that break and using your body in different ways than what you're used to for your preferred sport, not only keeps the passion alive for that sport, but also, builds your body in other ways that one sport could.
Now, what's it like shifting from, being an athlete, maybe being a coach, to now you're pretty much running your own little small business, and you have to kind of bring that business mind of networking and, closing deals or bringing on new partnerships and stuff. What was that kind of learning journey for you on that?
I thought it was always came kind of natural. I had the support of Aaron Locks. He really kind of took me under his wing and guided me. I was lucky enough to join in the early stages of the National Academy of Athletics. But I really think it all stems from relationship building, right? Being able to translate your experiences and recognizing what your coaches did for you growing up is, what's going to shape the coach you become. I think that was one of the other beautiful parts about my journey is when I first started, I was running all of my own programs. And then I slowly started to hire more coaches and slowly replace myself and kind of take my coaches under my wing, just like Aaron did with myself. Other than that, it's just a matter of putting that good product out there and making sure that the kids are engaged, parents are loving what their kids are doing, kids are coming home happy and tired.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So let's talk about the different populations that you work with. You've obviously got the little student athletes and stuff, and you're at all different grade levels and skill levels, but then you have to work with their parents. Kind of what's it like, and how do you? Because you got these parents that come in and they want their kid to be like always on the field, number one, pushing them hard. How do you kind of manage that?
I think the hard part about that is, the parents want the best for their kids, so they're going to always advocate for their kids. It's kind of that educational component. The thing about travel club is people are paying for it, right? So there's a sense of getting a certain amount of playing time or whatever it may be. What we're focusing on is less the competition and more the development. And again, just bringing that sense of passion and love. If the kids are out there having a good time, they're all participating, that's a success for us.
Yeah.
Again, we have kids that are super talented at the sports we're running. Other kids are just starting out, and it's just a matter of getting them to fall in love with what they're doing.
Now, do you have like a little message for parents out there? And maybe what's the message you give when you're bringing the parents in, maybe at the beginning of a season, saying, hey, look, this is what we're about. We're trying to develop the child and maybe the love and for the play and for the game and stuff. It's not so much about making sure your child is the next D1 athlete.
I think the biggest piece right now is tapping into that social and emotional side of sports. That's one thing that is really a big piece for parents, is learning to win and lose. The whole participation trophy doesn't set our kids up for success later on in life, because you're not always going to be the best at what you're doing. You're not always going to win that award you think you should get. You got to work a little bit for it. So instilling those types of mentalities and those types of attributes into the kids at an earlier stage is going to set them up for success.
Now let's talk about the coaches that y'all find, because don't y'all use a lot of like local college athletes that can come help run the summer camps or run the baseball clinics and stuff?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have more than just college because I have the PE component. So, I have coaches that are 19 and I have coaches that are well into their 50s. It's really just finding people who have a passion of passing their knowledge on to the next generation, and then utilizing the systems that the National Academy of Athletics has created that has been proven to work and streamline the program for them.
And one thing, actually, as many times I've talked to Aaron, I've never talked about this population as much, but I imagine, how is it possible for kids to have fun when the coach isn't having fun? So how do you tell the coaches, hey, you need to have fun? And then that transmits to the children as well when they're playing.
Well, I mean, you hit it right on the head, right? If the coaches aren't energetic about what they're doing, the kids are going to feed off of the energy.
Yeah.
And we all know we're all going through something in our own lives, and it's a matter of, showing up for the kids. So as bad as it sounds, the whole fake it till you make it energy level, like, that's really important.
Yeah. Now, is there like in your mind mentally when you're running these camps, is there like a fun meter that you're like measuring, okay, are my kids having fun or am I making this miserable for them? And you constantly have to kind of pull yourself in check, because I know there's a competitive side of every person you would ask to coach, and they just want to win. So how do you kind of keep that in check and say, hey, this isn't all about winning?
You're always trying to gauge that, right? One of the things that I always instruct my coaches and that I do is, if there's a team that's struggling, guess who's joining their team? Coach. Right? Because you know that the coach is going to get it to everyone. There's not going to be like the friends throwing to friends. Like, everyone's going to get an equal opportunity to participate. And then establishing that as kind of like the expectation for all the other kids really helps in building that engagement from everyone.
Yeah. All right. So what message do you have for parents and kids out there that are maybe having their children in a burnout phase and they want to find something that's more along the lines of what y'all teach? What kind of message do you have for them to kind of balance out how they're pushing their kids into these sports?
Just get the kids out there, do more rec leagues, do the YMCA programs, do the Boys and Girls Club, do the National Academy of Athletics programs. Stay local. There's no reason to really have to travel 2 hours on the road on the weekends to play 5 games, 3 games, whatever it may be. We need to bring our youth sports back to the local and make it more affordable and more accessible to everyone. And the only way we're going to do that is by coming together as a community.
Yeah. All right. So then, do you have any maybe testimony to a coach or maybe a former D1 or pro athlete that may not want to go into Parks and Rec, but still wants to be very involved at the rec level? Why did you choose to go with the National Academy of Athletics, and what kind of testimony do you have for that group?
Yeah, I came to the National Academy of Athletics just because of the support of the whole organization. Aaron Locks is a tremendous leader and trainer. He always brings the energy, even when you're feeling down, helps you get out of that rut when you feel like you're stuck.
Yeah.
And the whole piece that we do is it's all community focused, rather than just like renting space. We do everything in partnership. So we partner with the rec departments, we partner with the YMCAs. We're just there to be an added value and an added asset, rather than just trying to do the whole show ourselves.
Now, is this your first time at CPRS?
No, this is my second. My first year was last year in Sacramento.
Oh, fantastic. So what's it like working with Parks and Rec departments?
It's great. I think the big piece is really that partnership model again, rather than just renting the field space. It does add a little bit more work, but I know that the communities are looking to their community service departments to really put together great programs for them and make it an easier path to find what they're looking for.
Fantastic. Well, Ben, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and hope you'll have a good time here at CPRS. And maybe you can check back in with us and let us know how the convention went.
Perfect. Thanks, Craig.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jovi. You can go ahead and close it out with the promo.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion parks and rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move parks and rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.